Nightfall always brings its own set of mysteries, strange sounds, unexplained shadows, and the chill that runs down your spine even in the warmth of a summer night. Tonight's story is one of those unusual stories that will make you think twice before venturing into the unknown. Alice, a 30-year-old woman, full of determination and curiosity, ventures into an old Cold War-era bunker hidden deep within a dense, forgotten forest. It's the kind of place you'd hear about in campfire stories or one of those amazing stories told late at night. She descends the rusty metal ladder slowly, her boots echoing against the cold, steel rungs. The dim beam from her flashlight sweeps over the walls, revealing patches of mold and deep, creeping rust. As she steps onto the concrete floor, there's a sudden, sharp metallic sound. The heavy door behind her slams shut with a deafening clang. She spins around, heart pounding in her chest, and lunges for the door, but it doesn't budge. Locked. The sound of the latch clicking into place reverberates like the final nail in a coffin. She takes a deep breath, her voice barely a whisper. No way. I'm not staying trapped in here. Alice pushes forward, her flashlight flickering with every step. The air is damp, thick, and filled with a faint metallic taste, like old blood. The passage ahead narrows, the walls closing in. She squeezes through, feeling the rough concrete scrape against her jacket. Her breaths come quicker now, a telltale sign of the creeping panic. The flashlight wavers, and she swears under her breath. Come on, don't quit on me now. Water drips from unseen cracks above, the rhythmic sound echoing like a heartbeat in the darkness. This place is alive with tension, a perfect setting for one of those fantastic stories that leave you awake at night, wondering if you'll ever see the morning light again. Suddenly, her flashlight blinks out. She is swallowed whole by the darkness, the kind that seems to wrap itself around you, squeezing the breath from your lungs. She freezes, her pulse racing, listening to the silence, every little sound amplified in the darkness. The air grows colder, thicker, pressing in on her from all sides. She feels the walls tightening, her breath catching in her throat, her chest heaving with the effort to draw in air. Get it together, Alice, she mutters, her voice trembling. She reaches out, hands sliding over the damp walls, trying to find a way forward, a way out of this nightmare of confined spaces. Her heart thunders in her ears, a desperate rhythm, as if the darkness itself is alive, listening to her fear. Alice presses herself against the wall, feeling the cold, wet concrete through her clothes. The corridor is so tight now that her body is almost wedged in place. The walls feel like they are closing in, squeezing her from all sides. Her breath quickens, and she feels a sharp pain in her side as panic claws at her chest. Her flashlight is dead, a useless weight in her hand. She can feel her pulse racing, hammering in her temples, her hands shaking. She whispers to herself, "This isn't happening. This isn't real. It's just another one of those fascinating stories you hear about." But she knows it is real, the walls are solid, the air is thick, and the darkness is absolute. She stumbles forward, her hand brushing against something slick and alive with mold. She pulls back, disgusted, but there is nowhere else to go. The corridor creaks and groans, an almost human sound, a low, mournful moan that seems to come from deep within the concrete itself. Alice's breath catches, and she forces herself to keep moving, step by painful step. The darkness is so thick, so complete, that it feels like a living thing pressing against her skin. Alice clutches the dead flashlight like a lifeline, her knuckles white with fear. Her breaths are fast and shallow, her heart pounding with a primal terror. She reaches out with one hand, fingers brushing against rough, damp concrete. Every sound is magnified, the drip of water echoing like a drumbeat in her ears. She whispers to herself, "It's just a bunker, just an old, empty bunker." But even she doesn't believe it anymore. The walls seem to be whispering secrets, the kind that belong in bedtime stories meant to scare little children. She closes her eyes, feeling the darkness press in on her, as if the very air were solidifying, tightening around her like a noose. She takes a deep breath, feeling the cold, damp air fill her lungs, and opens her eyes. There's nothing but the dark. Just the dark, and the sense that something, somewhere, is watching.
There is no sound now except for the ragged, uneven rhythm of her breathing. The darkness is absolute, a void that seems to stretch into infinity, swallowing her whole. Alice leans back against the wall, feeling the rough texture against her skin, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps. She whispers into the darkness, "If you're out there, if anyone's out there, help me." But there's no answer. Just silence. The silence that thickens, grows heavy, like it, too, is a living thing, waiting with bated breath. She closes her eyes, listening to her own heartbeat, a slow, rhythmic drumbeat in a vast emptiness. Somewhere in the darkness, a sound emerges, faint, almost imperceptible, like the soft, slow exhale of a breath. And then, nothing. Just the deep, abiding quiet of the night.
This is the kind of story you'll find in the archives of the most mysterious stories of the night. A true story? Perhaps. A legend to be whispered around campfires? Definitely. But remember, not every mystery is meant to be solved, some are best left in the dark.